Happy Memorial Day to all of you. And I just want to, number one, say thank you for those who have fallen um, for our country, who serve, who have served, and who have fallen. So I'll start with that. Um, we've been talking about the unconscious mind over the past couple of weeks. We have been talking about um, the unconscious mind as it relates to how it deals with emotions, how it deals with memories, how it protects the body, protects the mind. And today I want to talk about how the unconscious mind deals with habits. So you've heard um, that it takes 21 days to make a habit. And in this video, I'll talk to you about really what the underlying mechanism of that is. So for those of you who don't know, most of you know by now, I'm Dr. Maisha, your business and entrepreneur coach, and your NLP hypnosis trainer. I help docs and medical professionals and high-performing entrepreneurs undo old conditioning of the mind so that you can achieve amazing results in your career, your business, your relationship, and your life. And I love talking about the unconscious mind because, you know, the things that we do in life that we are conscious of, there's always some unconscious element running it. And so, you know, it's important for us to get to know what are those unconscious elements in order for us to really have power in our lives. So I know for myself, I'm a yogi, and I practice 4 days a week. That's, and you know, for many years, I practiced 4 days a week. Back when I was, 10 years ago, I practiced probably 5 or 6 days a week. That was pre-Delson, and my Delson is my son. And now post-Delson, post-son, I am able to get in 4 full days a week. Now, it took me some time to be able to ramp up to that, right? It took repetition, it took commitment, it took training my unconscious mind. So, remember in previous videos, we talked about the mind's prime directive to protect the body. And as such, it's responsible for instinct. It's responsible for fight or flight response, excuse me. And if you remember, I shared back in the day about my near carjacking experience and how the unconscious mind took control and got me out of that situation, right? So now, just as much as the unconscious mind is responsible for instinct, it's also responsible for generating habits. So you see, the unconscious mind is really an ongoing, it's in a state of ongoing now. So, there's now. With the unconscious mind, there's now and now and now and now and now, right? Most of the time. And so it needs a fair amount of repetition to build up habits. So, when I first started practicing yoga and we're doing our sun salutation, and I noticed that we go into this position called downward facing dog, which most of you might know what that looks like by now. And initially, we would hold that pose for 5 breaths, and my yoga teachers today, Kathy and Marcia, they'd be like, and this is the rest pose. And I remember when I first started practicing yoga, 12, 13 years ago, and I was holding downward dog just for 5 breaths. I was like, how the hell is this a rest pose? Now, if you ever have done downward facing dog, it is quite a bit, it takes quite a bit of shoulder strength and latissimus dorsi strength and a little bit of arm strength as well. So when you're holding that pose, sometimes the hands start to shake and you're like, oh. But in doing that practice, is what we call it, a yoga practice, in doing that practice daily and conditioning myself daily, my body became conditioned to be able to handle that pose and many others, right? And so it's the same even with the practice itself. How many times did I have to consciously get myself up out of bed and drive to the studio and go to practice every day until it was just, wake up in the morning and automatically I know I'm going to the studio. And even after I had my son and took some time off, I had to regenerate that habit by, creating a routine, right? A repetitive routine for me and my son in the mornings that would get me to yoga practice after I got him to school. So the unconscious mind needs quite a bit of repetition to develop habits. Now, this applies to both good habits and bad habits. All right. We are always conditioning the unconscious mind, whether we know it or not. And oftentimes, we're repeating unhealthy behaviors that we don't even realize that we're repeating. And that's how they get set in place. If you think about, and I'm talking about the non-addictive behaviors, like I'm not talking about smoking, because smoking has a whole other component to it, right? Although there is a habit to the smoking as well, right? There's a habit of putting the hand up, putting something to the mouth. There's a trigger of when one knows that they're supposed to smoke a cigarette. There's that habit as well. So outside of the actual addictive part, the nicotine addiction, there is the habit of smoking. Just like there's the habit of drinking coffee. Most people get up in the morning and they drink coffee. In some cultures, they have coffee after a meal, right? After dinner. And it's a habit. So what habits do you know that you have, whether they're good or bad? They don't all have to be bad habits and they don't all have to be good habits, but think about unconscious habits that you have and post them in the comments. I'd love to hear some of the habits that you have. One of my habits is a smoothie in the morning. It's just a habit. It's just I wake up in the morning, I make the shake and I drink it after yoga class. That's just a habit, right? And I rarely break that habit. Now, during this quarantine, my routine has shifted a little bit, right? Routines and habits are very closely related because eventually what happens is as you're repeating behaviors, the unconscious mind takes it over and you don't have to think about it. Look, driving, there are parts of driving that are habits. So what are some of the habits that you have that are unconscious habits? Tapping so people tap when they're nervous, tap their foot on the floor when they're nervous, or tap their pen on something when they're nervous is an unconscious habit. So therefore, to form a new habit, you must repeat the pattern that you would like to be doing until the unconscious mind takes it over. So what is a new habit that you want to form, whether it's a small habit or it's a big habit? And what structures do you need to put in place to be able to form that new habit? So for example, for me to form the habit or the routine of going to yoga, the habit of practicing 4 days a week, I actually had to create a series of habits, which is the routine, right? A series of habits which create a routine in order for me to be able to have that 4-day-a-week yoga practice. Now, I have been trying to add a 5th day on for probably at least a year since my son has been born, get back to that 5 or 6 day a week practice, but I have not created a specific routine that would give the repetition that'll allow that 5th day to stick, right? And what that probably means is I'm not super committed to the 5th day if I were to tell on myself, right? But that in order to create a new routine, it's a series of habits that you put in place in order to achieve that new action that you want to take, whether it's starting a business, whether it's particular actions in your business. You want to continue to repeat things over and over until the unconscious mind takes it over. Now, how long does that take? Well, there are some researchers that say it takes about 14 to 21 days. However, there are some ways that we use in NLP to bypass that time frame and install habits almost instantly by replacing the bad habit with a good habit with specific visualization and mind remapping techniques that can short circuit that timeline and cause that transformation shift very quickly, right? So what habits are you trying to break? And what habits are you trying to make? Post them in the comments. I want to know. Forming new habits and breaking old ones is one of the ways, one of the reasons that understanding the unconscious mind gives you a deeper understanding of your behaviors and why you sometimes come against the same roadblocks or obstacles, so that you know, over and over again. And when you learn these skills and these tools of neuro-linguistic programming, then you actually can release those blocks and begin to create unimaginable results in your life and all areas of your life. And furthermore, learning the principles and the tools of neuro-linguistic programming can help you unhook the invisible influences that block and slow and stop your progress so that you can unlock the key to creating exactly what you want in your life with precision and velocity. Now, some of you out there who are healers, some of you who are out there who are coaches, who are doctors, you might be already considering, because I've had some of you reach out to me, going deeper into the training behind NLP and hypnosis. And this is the access to not only transforming your own life, but impacting deeply the lives of your clients, your patients, and the people in your life. So all of that I've said, and by now you may be wondering, okay, well, if I wanted to do that, how do I even get started? And I have been teasing you all for a couple of weeks about an event, a virtual event that is coming up. And I consider it an introduction to neurolinguistic programming. It really is a way for you to delve a little bit more deeply into how your mind works so that you can really get underneath those internal unconscious conversations. You can learn a little bit about the principles of neurolinguistic programming, and you can really begin to cause disruption in those unconscious conversations and create new and empowering habits in your life. And that is our virtual Mind Remapping 2.0 retreat coming up July 18th. All right, so we have been planning this for a while since our first one. We had such a success with that we wanted to do a second one. And of course, because COVID happened, we had to take this virtual, like many people are doing. So this is going to be a full day retreat. And we're not only going to be teaching you about the inner workings of your unconscious mind, but we're going to be taking you through your own hero's journey and showing you how to navigate out of the drama triangle that you may be stuck in so that you can have a new sense of power, control, freedom in your life that allow you to consciously author the next steps in your journey. So what you can do is register for the retreat by going to bit.ly/virtual transformation. I'll post that in the comments as well as the description. bit.ly/virtual transformation. And if you register before June 15th, then you're going to automatically get upgraded and get the replay for free. And this is going to be part one of a 2-part journey. So if you want to know more about what part 2 will be like, you'll be able to see that when you register for this one. All right. So that's what I want to share with you today. What habits are you making? What habits are you breaking? What are your takeaways from today about generating new habits that you're going to implement this week, starting today, to start forming those new habits? I want to know. Post in the comments. And we're going to be talking more later this week about the unconscious mind and, again, how it works with generating new habits and actions in your life. So stay tuned. Look forward to seeing you on the next live stream. Y'all have a good one. Namaste.